Shoulder, Henry. I'm standing right next to
This
you.
is like when you don't even remember half the things you did.
Oh, God, Henry, let's not get off track.
No.
Let's focus.
This is why.
Henry, let's not get off track.
No.
Let's focus.
This is why.
Henry, let's not get off track.
No.
They have a hard time with that integration, with that holding that two things can be true at once. And so they sort of operate from whatever they're feeling in the moment. And that really colors how they see the past, how they understand your behavior, your relationship, and guides how they will then, treat you in that moment, in that day. Now, it can swing and vary, but at the core, everything is really, like I keep saying, colored by the way they think and see and feel and experience themselves and you in the world. And that at the core can really truly make, as I say, for crazy.
Our emotions are based on interpretations of events, not events themselves. And so if our interpretation is wrong, I'll experience an emotion that doesn't really match the situation, an emotion that is inappropriate or inconsistent with what's actually going on.
Marsha Linehan proposed that individuals with BPD are born with a biological predisposition to be sensitive and to have less innate emotional regulation strategies or systems. So if we're born with this predisposition to being sensitive, paired then with this overly seeing the negative things in our lives.
Borderline clients perceive or experience emotional situations, including conflicts and other relational situations, more intensely.
A computer program was used to make a range of faces from neutral here all the way to happy, or from happy all the way to angry. And people with BPD or without BPD were invited into the lab and shown these faces one at a time like this. And what the scientists found is that people with BPD quickly notice and pay more attention to angry faces than might people without BPD. They judge ambiguous, meaning faces kind of in the middle that don't have so clearly a strong emotion, to be angry. And they have more trouble distinguishing the close detail about negative faces. In practical terms, this may suggest that people with are good at noticing negative emotions, but not as good as other people at getting a more detailed sense of what's going on. This could put them at risk of confusing another person's negative expression, which could have a variety of meanings, such as physical discomfort, disappointment, or puzzlement. Someone with BPD might see it as certainly angry. This result that people with BPD understand ambiguous faces, that's faces without one clear specific emotion, as angry.
Because they're hypersensitive to negative memories, negative sensations, the reactivity of those negative emotions is a lot more prominent than the positive.
So the amygdala then is a brain region that responds to threats. And in BPD, the amygdala is more active all the time and more active than it would be in control subjects when seeing faces. So there's another brain region that we now should talk about called the prefrontal cortex, or PFC. And this brain region is great because it can quiet the amygdala. So when the amygdala starts to respond to a threat, the prefrontal cortex can say, maybe this one isn't so bad. And interestingly, people with borderline personality disorder have less connectivity. And when I say connectivity, I mean communication between two brain regions, between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, which, if it were connected, might be able to help quiet the amygdala.
And I therefore misunderstand or misinterpret your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. I potentially interpret them as negative or critical or a personal attack. I react to that attack by launching a counterattack. And if you're anything like me, my counterattacks are hardcore. There will be no survivors. As a result of all this, the neurotypical person is now completely confused and potentially upset. This experience is damaging to the relationship. And as it occurs over time, repeatedly, the relationship is broken. That's mind blindness as it plays out between an autistic person And a neurotypical.
There's moments where like my ego pipes up and I'm like, you're not going to tell me what to do. My dad told me what to do. You know, this teacher told me what to do. And this like bitterness comes out and this anger part of my BPD, every symptom just shoots.
When they're in these emotional, outbursts or whatever intense emotional experiences, they fully believe that that is what is the truth. There is no other ulterior answer to why, and they really buy into and believe every emotion they feel, and they believe it as fact. And it is something that in the moment is very real and very intense to them, even if from the outside you see it as, well, that doesn't make sense, or let's just think this through for a minute. In that moment, they are not really able to do that because they're so activated by emotion.
Concussion, multiple sclerosis, brain tumors that affect certain areas of the brain, again, can trigger high. So that, for example, if somebody develops bipolar disorder and there's absolutely, utterly no family history of it, that's one of the things you will think.